So Jessica and I, we run an organization which is really interesting. It's about partnership. So we work in Kenya, and I will let her go first. Jessica, welcome.
Well, hello everyone from Nairobi, Kenya. Very happy to join you today by video. I want to take a moment and tell you the story of how I first came to be here in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm sorry not to be with you today, but some family circumstances have prevented me from traveling. But let me take you back to 12 years ago, when I was 21 years old and decided that I wanted to see the world. I grew up in Denver, Colorado. Growing up, I never had the opportunity to travel. In fact, I lived quite a normal American insular life. But when I was 21 and went to college, I was so curious to see and understand what the world really looked like. And this curiosity led me to Nairobi, Kenya, where soon after arriving, I was introduced to a young community organizer named Kennedy Odede. Kennedy, whose story you'll hear in a moment, was an example for me of the type of change and local knowledge that can lead to large-scale transformation. I wanted to become part of the work that Kennedy was doing in his hometown of Kibera. If you can imagine this with me for a moment, Kibera was as different as it could get from Denver, Colorado, my home. Kibera is about the size of Central Park. But if you can imagine, about 1 million people live in this space without access to consistent running water, healthcare, education, things that my whole life I had taken for granted. Kennedy, as a local community organizer, saw both the challenges but also the potential. And I wanted to learn alongside him, to embed myself in his movement, and to see what type of real, lasting change was possible. The first time I saw Kibera, I remember just feeling so overwhelmed. And I thought about the accidents of birth. How is it that some of us are born in places like Denver, Colorado, where others, like Kennedy, are born in Kibera? This question overwhelmed me. And as I started to live in Kibera and become a part of the community, a story that Kennedy will tell you in a moment, I became even more determined to use what I began to accept as my accidental privilege to make a tremendous difference and to use this privilege on behalf of others around the world. So together, for the last 12 years, Kennedy and I have built and scaled an organization that today serves over 300,000 Kenyans in 9 urban slums across the country. But this is just the beginning. Through this work and through my partnership with Kennedy, I've learned about the power of partnership and about the role that I could play to use the accident of my birth to learn and empower others around the world and to create long-term, scalable, sustainable social change. Kennedy, do you want to tell a bit more of the story?
Thanks, Jessica. Wow. I'm very humbled to be here. And movements, all those kind of things. So, but I feel like I'm more from the street. So, what really moved me? I don't know if not my life experience, I could be doing what I'm doing. So I grew up from a big slum called Kibera. And sometimes it's all about where you are born that determines your future. So growing up in Kibera, it was a tough life. And I almost gave up. I remember that there was no food, violent, and feeling a second-class citizen, that I'm useless. So at the age of 10, I did what other people do. I ran away from the house. And I became a street boy, very angry. I was eating from the garbage, using the drugs, and I was lost. But what is really interesting is that while I was in Kibera, I never understand the class as such, because the world was that small ghetto. Those who are having, if you have meat, for me you are rich. I mean, and many people went without food. So on the street, I'm like, wow, I'm seeing beautiful cars, but I'm sleeping outside. I'm using drugs. And then I got angry. And the more I have that anger, I became more desperate and giving up as a young man and knowing that, well, nothing will ever happen. I remember a day that I stole one mango because I was very angry. And the mob justice, they almost killed me. So that was the life. This kind of life is that I was ready to go to prison. Sometimes life really pushes you so hard that you don't care. And I love that even the rich die. You know what I mean? So if I die, I'm like, you know, so you feel so much pain that you are hopeless. So I taught myself how to read because I saw other children going to school, you know, in bright uniforms as they do in Africa. And so I became very angry that I also have to know how to read. So I was collecting all newspapers, teaching myself. That's how I learned how to read and write. It was a very, very tough life. But something happened. I met a Catholic priest who helped me get out of the street. In our parish, I came across a book of Dr. King. And to be honest with you, that for me was the moment. And I'm like, wow, this story of this man resonates with me. In America, black people, they are second-class citizens. They cannot do this. In Kibera, I felt the same. I couldn't go to the city. Every time I couldn't go to those restaurants. If police kill us, nothing. But if you kill a child of a middle class, there's lawyers. So you are like useless. And what really poverty does to you is making you invisible. When you're poor, you have no dream. When you're poor, you feel that you have no voice. And it was a very, very tough life. So the story of Dr. King really made me so much hopeful. Like, this guy really fought for the country, for the community. He never gave up. So now what I did now is that I started organizing. I started having a dream. And I was around 15 years old, so by then I was crazy. So my dream was to be the Dr. King of Kibera. Not of Kenya, but a small community. And I got a job in the factory. I was earning $1 for 10 hours. And one day I come back home, my best friend has committed suicide. And I'm like, we can't live like this. And that man was really looking for me, and I couldn't have time to meet him. So now life is tough. That's a moment I asked myself, what will Dr. King do? You know, I was very crazy, you know, in this kind of situation. And I bought a soccer ball. And I realized that the change for me, change will only come from the community. As my mom said that whoever wears the shoes knows where it pinches. So I realized that, you know what, we can't wait. And this is the moment that I want to turn my anger into something positive. And I felt it in my belly. So I went back to the ghetto. I organized people with the ball. And for Dr. King, I really did my research. For Dr. King, it was the church. You know, it started from the church. And the movement from the church, it became a bigger thing. So what is our church in Kibera? What is that for us? And we loved playing soccer or football. We loved it. So for me, that became a tool of organizing people in the community. So we come together as young people and we talk about issues, women issues, sanitation, our right. And then what happened was that the idea of giving hope. So that's why SHOFCO is called Shining Hope for Community. So the movement was born. And I had a very big dream, because that what I've seen when you're poor in the community is that people fly in, they do the non-profit, and then they go. Nobody really care about the future. And even the community themselves don't trust. They come in because there's money or there's something that will be given, but they don't own it. So my agenda was that people are like, Kennedy, where will you get the money from to run a non-profit? And I'm like, no, this is a movement. A movement and a non-profit are different. Non-profit, you write proposal. You speak good English. You know how to pitch. You know how to use the data. You know how it's a Western style system. Forgive me, I'm sorry. But a movement comes in when you're like, enough is enough. And I can't wait anymore. I don't know the data. I don't know how to measure M&D, but enough is enough. So we came together. We were crazy. And what really made me so happy was the idea of hope in the community. People feeling like they own it. And I joked by then, I say, one day we're gonna have our office from Kibera to New York. You won't believe this. Right now I have a development office in New York. Thank you. And then in a movement, you have to look for what you're looking for. So one thing that really made me so sad, every time I talk about my work, I couldn't understand their system. And I looked primitive. Because the movement was growing, we are really growing. I didn't understand how to. So my dream when I met Jessica, so Jessica is an interesting story. So I didn't like American coming to my community, I'll be honest. So it's true. I was this radical guy who was like, change come from the people, not outside. So now, this young lady from America, I don't know, 19 or 20, sent me an email. Kennedy, I like what you're doing, blah, 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 I want to come. And I remember I used to have a Yahoo. I used to check my email once in a month. I come from Kibera, I walk for 2 hours to the city. I didn't have my password. There was somebody else there who knew my email, my password. So I read it, and I say, I'm sorry. This is not an NGO, this is a movement. We don't take white people. And Jessica, really, I love her for that. She never gave up. She keep on writing back again. You know, I'm checking this email every month, okay? Just that you know. Dear Kennedy, I'm a different American. I believe in the movement like you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what do I do now? So I say this, I say, okay. So Jessica, as I say, don't take any other person. Listen, can you send us your CV or your resume? This somebody who never went to school is asking for resume. That's called confidence, and dignity. So Jessica, big Jessica, doesn't give up, send me a resume to me. So, and we talk about movement, you have to have a team. So I thought to print that resume, the CV, and we have to go vote. We were really amazing how these young people could just come together. And my best friend was the head of the gang in Kibera. They used to tax people. So what I did is that I relied on him. I went to him. His name was government, in Swahili called Serikal. Yeah, you know Serikal, eh? I said, government. They are killing us. They're going to kill you. Police are killing us. What if you come out and start fighting on women issues in the community, fighting the rape cases in the community? You will be a hero. Or you're going to face the bullets because they're killing us. So thank God, Serikal listened and joined the movement. So we became so powerful. We went to the police, like, we are fighting for women's rights. And women were so happy, part of the movement. And I learned that, wow, people are not bad. But the life pushes you in a corner that you have to find a way to survive. You have to create your own system. So having SHOFCO, George now is the director, his real name is George, of community relations. I love him. I mean, so anyway, so Jessica comes to Kenya, the movement agree, okay, this lady can come, and she's gonna come for one thing. She's gonna teach us theater, how to write our stories. Because for us, we didn't know how to do it. So she comes to Kenya, and by then I was working cleaning toilets in the city, the place called Technobrain. So that day, I wear my nice shoes and I have my brush in my pocket, you know? So I met Jessica at the stage. I really don't think I want to fall in love, to be honest with you. I was coming as a movement leader to meet this American lady. I come from the bus, and she takes me for lunch. Very interesting. So this lunch, now I don't know what is called salad, you know? I think that's rabbit food, okay? So, and because I'm a man of pride, I'm like, the same. So they bring me this rabbit food, and I'm trying to eat, it's falling down. I'm like, you know, madam, I already ate, but I'm really hungry. So then, okay, so we became very good friends, and I don't want to tell you much story. Let me go to the movement, okay? And then now, Jessica and I become very, very close. And a little bit, I was falling in love, but I was very careful. You have to be a leader, you know? Man of dignity. Because now what's happening is that, but honestly, I did a lot of readings. I read a lot, she will tell you. When she came to my 10 by 10 room, I used to live in 10 by 10 in a box. And this side was full of books, Harry Potter, all the books, love books of America. So I knew that if you tell a woman that, I love you as the way we do it in Africa, you look awkward and weird, yeah? Through reading books. But in my culture, when you see somebody beautiful, you tell them, I love you, you're beautiful, okay? But because I read about American culture, I was very careful and I have to be a proud leader. So I say, I like you so much. I like her. So we became really close friends, you know? And that is something when I talk about partnership. And I knew that Jessica had what I don't have. I was more visionary, disorganized. I can make people cross the river. But Jessica was well organized and understand the system. Let's be honest. Brother, I talk about you are building your movement in West Africa. There is a system. I won't lie to you. There's a system, the way things happen. If you don't know that system, so in Kibera, we were very good in organizing. Jessica, coming from America, was very good in all those proposal writing, those ideas. So I told Jessica, my dream, Jessica, for me to be a leader and to create this movement, I will need to have education. That's my dream. I will keep on saving and saving until I go to the city and to have education. Through miracles, I was able to get a scholarship to Wesleyan with no those papers. And that's what really makes me that if you really believe in what you are doing, the door will be opened. My reason was not to be rich, not to be powerful, not to be a politician, but to be organizer. And the people who have been left to organize them, if I get education, so I can speak in front of the, so that I can be placed like this. You cannot just be, I'm sorry, you know, you can't be here if you are, you know. So I was like, I want to be a voice. My sister's laughing there. I want to be a voice. But unless you are educated. So when I got a scholarship to Wesleyan, I knew it. I said to myself, that day I was flying, now I have it. I am from community, and I'm going to learn the system. So what else? I'll be able to pitch, be able to speak the language, and this movement will continue for long. And what I've learned is that as leaders, you have to understand what you're not good at. And not everybody will be founders. That's why Martin Luther King Jr., there's a guy I love called Marcus Garvey, there's other leaders, Rosa Parks, all these women too. It's all they knew what they're good at. We hear all the great leaders. There Mandela, there was Sisulu, as you said, there was Chris Hani, all these people who are good in other things. So you don't have to start something, but you can be part of a bigger picture. So that's how Jessica and I told Jessica, as a leader, you have to understand that you are American and you are coming into my community. There's a history. There's no trust. And you have to win that trust. And you cannot just be colorblind. I told her that, she'll tell you. You have to know who you are. People are going to treat you differently. And you have to know the power. It's so sad that it's happened in many countries. The power of just being white. Who say that? It's true, no? So as you go to the communities, know that. What does that resemble? And we have to be open about these issues. So I remember when I was a kid, we used to be taken to other non-profits and be shown around and be like, oh, look at these poor kids. And after those people have left, nothing happened to us. So there's this dilemma that we have to really talk about. So what happened is that Jessica was aware of that okay, I'm a stranger here. I want to learn from this community. And I told her, Jessica, as more as you are coming to teach us a lot of things here, you are going to learn a lot. That's what is called true partnership. And we have been able to create this movement that now serves over 300,000 in Kibera. So then later on something else happened. I want to share with you. I didn't want to do what? To do service delivery. We have a school for girls, we have health clinic, we have clean water. Why? I felt that, this is a couple of years ago now, I felt that that's the work of the government. But we did something very powerful. We showed the poor people, we show our community that, listen, this is clean water, this is healthcare, this is our school. Do you like it? The government can do that. So we started something called SHOFCO Urban Network, organizing informal dwellers to advocate for their rights and leaders. Because what I've seen is that in Nairobi, for example, 70% of the population live in informal settlement. What does that mean? The politician, they only come there during election. So we saw something is that the power is in informal settlement. They just don't know it. If these people can just come during time for election, what if we can organize communities and to bring them, anybody running for MP, to come and sit down and tell the community what is their agenda. So I've been really so much passionate doing that now. We are now in 9 slums, and the way we do it is that we have our own UN. I love it, I call it UN. What does UN mean? So each women group, youth group, garage, carpenters are in groups. And they send their representative to come to the meeting once a month and talk about the issues in their community. And there is price to pay. So people thought that as Kennedy, who came from poor family, going to America, when I come back, I should be a banker. Or I should immediately go to be what? Run for office. So I didn't do that. So I became a problem. Political class was not happy. So they tried to kill me. My house, they've sent 2 bullets in an envelope. And you know, with my wife, American. It was really tough moment for us. They tried to shoot my car on the road. So and I knew it. I knew that at the moment I'm building school, doing this thing, but the moment we talk about real change in the community, there'll be a problem. So if you don't face real challenges, still there's something not happening. So when you tackle systematical issues in a society, that's when you're going to be targeted. So I've really seen that happening in the community. So right now I'm changing the idea of systematical change and giving power to the people. What brings up a movement? A movement is when people share the same collective action. And I've seen what's happening in the community. So I don't know what could have happened in my life, but I think that having Jessica as a partner would really help. So in movement, you need to look for someone who is not like you. And I've learned that a lot. And something else, which I've been coming from a slum, from a ghetto, it is a challenging. Being here, going to New York, and then going back. I try not to change. I try to remind them I'm still one of them. I try to remind them that I'm not better than them. They are the reason I am who I am. Because we've seen that in movements, there's jealousy. Only that happens when you try to show people how important you are and not appreciating other leaders. So what I've learned is that I try to remind my community that whatever I'm doing is because of them. I was raised by a community, although I was a street boy, but I was raised by a community. So I don't want to say much. I think there were some pictures which I don't really, I think I'm going to stop there and have more questions. I know I made you laugh, I made you think, and now I want to make you ask questions, yeah? I told you, I walked there, I told you, I'm from the street. I will just tell you the way it is and share my story. And everyone has a story. My story is not special, but I know my story resonates with your story. And I also know very well that I could never been in a place like this. I don't know how it happened, but sometime another world is possible. So thank you. That's my community. Okay.
Hello. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm Immaculate from Tanzania. So I can really relate to Kibera slums in Kenya. We are neighbors. And I know what really happens. I haven't been there yet, but I know a lot of stories from Kibera. And I happen to know some people, like some young people who have different initiatives in the same area. I know one of the guys who has a movement called Dance for Change. I do not know if you know him, Solomon. So I was interested to know if you work with these other groups of young people in order to bring change in Kibera slums, or you probably work alone, or like at what moment do you guys come together to see like what are the issues that you're trying to address and how do you strengthen your movements so that you get better results? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I answer that or the other question? Yeah.
My name is Olumide from Nigeria. I want to ask, concerning community engagement that you work on, what are the tools you use in engaging with the community? Because most of the time, I understand that when you go to community with white people, they keep asking you, Alpha, it's like they've given you some money, and you're not giving us like a little. So how do you engage? What are the tools you use in communicating with them to have effective recognition?
Thank you so much. So I'll start with my sister there, and then I come to you, bro. Yeah, so in So right now, SHOFCO, Sharing of a Community, is trying to bring change in Kenya by working with other leaders. So for example, right now, the biggest thing is the government. The government is everything, let's not lie. And the government has to be given pressure from the people. So we got something called SAN, SHOFCO Urban Network. So this is a group of other CBOs in Kibera. So to be honest with you, SHOFCO now is the biggest in Kibera. And it's really powerful because it's a grassroots organization started by a street boy, by a Kiberian, a kid who used to walk with no shoes. So people have that connection. You know what I mean? And for us to achieve our goal, we really work, I know them, the team you're talking about, and we try to work with other leaders. And I'm also doing something else whereby they see SHOFCO as a beacon of what they can be like, the community organizers, because SHOFCO has really grown over the years, and other community members are looking like, can we also do the same thing? So we work together with them. And then, brother, the idea of, I'm talking to you? Yes, the idea of how to work with the community. What I love about the community is that you have to be open. You have to understand the context. So, most of the time, they don't say the truth. Forgive me, I don't want to be against our people. They don't say the truth. Why? If I'm really poor, and I'm in a place of scarcity, and I did it, I apologize. And you come, you ask me, hi, I'm from Canada, I'm from America. Do you want shoes? I'm like, hey, yes, I want shoes. And do you want food? Yes. I mean, because what has happened is that white in society has been really connected to charity. So that's common, So every time they meet people, they are more like, what are we going to get from you? What am I getting? You are here to have a lot of money to spend. But when people feel it's their movement, and I remember, and you tell them, I'm here with our partner for our movement. So the same way you engage with them is very important, because you have to know how they think. So when you're poor, as I said before, you want anything. Sometimes people tell you something like, oh, community want this. That's really sad. How do you know community want this? Until you go deep and deep. So what I've seen happening in my community, in me working with people, is being honest. First of all, you have to tell people like, listen, I won't leave you. I want you to be honest with me. Can this work? This is a student. This is a person. This person is our supporter. He's a partner. He's gonna leave, but I am with you here. You know what I mean? So if you say the truth from the beginning, it's really sometimes help a lot. But we cannot judge them. But we have to understand, why do they think like that? For example, SHOFCO now in Kibera, it's people's movement. So I remember, this is so crazy to share this story. So I remember when I came from the States, and now I had some students to work for us in Kibera. And it was really sad, but also interesting. And people started talking about it. Can you believe they called me the mayor? The mayor hired white people working for us. Oh my God, what? The world can change. So for them, they're like, wow, Americans can work for us. Because they never seen that like before. So it's all about mental shift. So when I go to Kibera, they want me to tell them stories of America. I'm like, you also have poor people there. Like, what? You also have projects. It's not called slums, it's called project. People also struggle. So it's not about color. There are also black people in America who are very wealthy. So we have to now tell the story. Because in their idea, in their head, they think of America. So, and that's why they see an American working in the community, money. Because in them, America is money. And to be told, not always the same. So we have to share this real story that we see. America was built. America really went through a lot. And people also struggle. People also suffer. We also share that to our communities. But the change really is when people own the idea. So the question now is, how do you make the community to own it? That's the thing you have to ask yourself. How can I make my community to own it? Yes, from Uganda. I can feel, man.
Kennedy, we have one question here.
Okay. Then Uganda. Okay.
My name is Jaquel Goodwin. I am a Hampton University student, finance major, political science minor. But we here in the U.S., we always, do service trips over there. So I'm just trying to figure out how do we make more systematic impact when we make those service trips and when we do those service events.
Thank you so much. I like that question you ask. So we have to be careful. I think today is a day we speak the truth here. Am I right? We don't hide anything. There's something called white savior that has been happening. The complex. And the point is that does that mean that we don't want people to come to work with us? No. But the point is here is simple. Don't tell me you are coming to help. You are wrong. Do you think they can help themselves? Let's start thinking of, what am I going to learn? As American, I'm from Virginia. I'm going to Uganda. What am I going to learn from the people? So if you have that mentality, it changes a lot. But if you have this thing, I'm going to help. I'm going to help those people. I'm going to help them. Because the truth be told, they end helping you more. What makes me sad? Can I share with you my story? Which makes me so sad? In Kibera, I was so sad. These people come to my community. They spend 2 months. Next year, they're at Harvard. I was in Kibera. And they forget about us. It's gone. It's gone. So they have a strategy. Yes, I'm going to apply for schools in the US. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to Uganda. I'm going to Kibera. After those 2 months, a beautiful essay is written. People at Yale, at Virginia University, here. Don't kick me out, I swear. Anyway, but what is that? There's something here. You learned so much. Those who come to our community, most of the time, they end up not complaining. They end up appreciating life because they learn from people who have nothing. And what makes these people move on? Every time I go to Kibera, I learn a lot all the time. I'm like, wow, look at this. They don't worry too much. They have stress, everything's happening. But look how they are resilient. What is that? And that's why when I came to America, this is crazy, the first thing I loved was the shower, which I took it for 2 hours because I was like, oh my God, this is warm. Wow. You know what I mean? And because I didn't have it. So what I learned from Kibera was appreciation. But many people, fridge for me was something important, like I can have my food, can stay there for a while. Wow, really? In Kibera, So my brother, it's all about what also are you going to learn? And let's be open about it. And then nobody's being helped. We're helping each other. Did I answer you? Thank you. I love this energy now. I feel the energy in the room. Good. And then somebody's here too.
Hi, I'm Shurnima from Nepal. Thank you for a very interesting conversation. Just relating to what you just said and what he just asked, I wanted to ask, there's a concept that, the developed world has to help the so-called developing or poor countries, and that one side is the donor and another is receiver or in need of help. But actually, a recent study from Global Financial Integrity Institute, which is based in US, found that, like a lot of financial transfers. There's a bigger amount of financial transfer happening from the developing part to the developed part than the other way around. And actually, like, the countries that are helping us, the poorer side, are probably taking back more, and we tend to feel that we're getting a lot of help and we are so dependent. And as he said, like, whenever like person from a developed country visits the communities, people have expectations, probably they will give us something, they'll fund our projects and things like that. While I believe that our countries are quite self-sufficient if we manage our resources properly, how do you think can we break this cycle of dependency and utilize our resources more properly? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. So even if you think of your iPhone, that's Africa. Look at the resources, So what's happening in Africa, honestly, I don't want to go into detail, is they know how to play with tax, these multinational companies. So a lot is taken from Africa, but in raw material. So the question I think that we are all working, Solomon was talking about it, is that I think our leaders in Africa is the problem. The youth are ready. The youth are ready. They are doing stuff. The leadership is old. But their days are numbered. Their days are numbered. So that's why I'm not scared. And Africa is going in the hands of great leaders. Very soon, it's happening slowly but slowly. Who knew Mugabe will go down? Who knew? I'm sorry, but you see, so these people have that colonial mentality. So they still have the power that they were given. But the young generation, the Africans in this room, as you see them, you can tell, these are the future leaders. So we have to really start empowering our communities, and we have to give much hope on young generation. So it's happening now, but it's going to change. Yes, then you. Yes, we are forgetting this side, yeah?
Hi, I'm Christine, and I'm also from Kenya. So thank you for sharing this story. My question is, have you been able to collaborate with, Nairobi is also known, this is one part of Nairobi, but Nairobi is also a hub for so many international organizations. We have General Electric, we have Citibank, among many. And it's also a hub for many startups, and it's also a technological city. It's actually leading in Africa. Have you been able to connect with any of those other corporations to support this initiative? Because I believe they do owe the city, they should actually assist in this service.
Okay.
Oh, and I have a second question. You talked about the political class is old and they're aging and they're leaving, but that means that there will be a vacuum soon enough. And if you and certain other young people are not motivated enough to run for office, and it does not have to be the presidential office, it can be even at your local, like in Kibera, and you would gather the votes, and I'm sure people would support you. And this is the change we are actually asking for, because then if we leave it vacuum, we will get other people who are not as motivated for change as possible. So would you consider running for office at some point?
Oh my God. So anyway, Christine, thanks so much. Is that in Kenya now, so there's something happening in Africa that I want to touch base on. There's a lot here, investment. Do you know who owns those companies? So when you talk about Africa rising, something really sad sometimes. Stop and think. The next question is, rising with who? You hear this all the time, Africa rising. I love it. But I look at Kenya, the poverty levels. So there's a lot of challenges we are facing as a continent. And most of our miners, my sisters, they say they're going out of the continent. They're not in the continent. So I believe that my role is to inspire more leaders to come who are going to run for offices in Kibera, whatever. And how do we work with the companies? Safaricom, for example, M-Pesa, So what I realized is that, I didn't want to come out as a charity. This is very interesting. So Safaricom is a big company. They have M-Pesa, the money transfer. So Bob, the CEO, is now a friend. So when I met him, I went to him and said, listen, people in Kibera don't like Safaricom because of a political thing. We have the people. We can do business together. What can you do? So that my community, our community can organize and support your work. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm looking at how do we create platform in these informal settlements more than charity. So that the companies, businesses can also see their benefit, their profit, what they can get from that. For example, now I'm also working with Unilever, who I know, they say they care about the poor. I don't know the story there, but I know they have products for the people living under $5, $3. So like, hey, listen, can we talk? Can we work together? There's nothing for free. That's kind of my thinking. There's nothing for free. It's business. So we work with GE. They brought some machines to the community in the clinic, Safaricom, Unilever. So I try to partner with them and to look at their business angle and what the community is going to get. So I think I answered that. And in terms of politics, Christian, you see people in Kenya, young parliamentarians, Sakaja and the rest, people are really getting to the offices. So I feel like we are ready. The thing is that almost 70% of population in Africa are young people. So I think very soon they're going to take in positions. But we are ready. Yes.
Thank you, Kennedy. My name is Joshua from Uganda. In 2017, I visited Kibera. I didn't come to help, that's the truth. Yeah, so we just came to learn from communities in Kibera, to connect with everyone there and then the organizations. And what shocked me is that within one day of the visit we had in Kibera, we met a lot of organizations, like so many, that were all working in this community of Kibera. And my question is like what has been the impact of these organizations that have been in Kibera? Like, is there like change? Are we seeing like Kibera slum transforming to a better life in the near future? Because if there are so many organizations, we believe that they're there for a common good, like now yours. So do we see like some change that's taking place in the lives of people in Kibera?
Yeah. So good. So what happened is that in Kibera, being our home, being the most poorest place in Kenya, really, one of the staff. So there are many NGOs that come in. But we had a name for them. We call them briefcase NGOs. Briefcase, so they are registered, but really, you cannot see what they're really doing. And that's why my passion really is that what can we do with the government and transform Kibera? And what I'm doing now is organizing community. I'm beyond service delivery. Our service delivery was a way to show people like, you can have clean water. I'm not a government. Look, we're having clean water. You can have healthcare. But the government can do that in a large scale. So there are many NGOs that are in Kibera, but we cannot see their impact. Yeah, so I agree with you on that. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that story. My name is Daniela from Ecuador. And two really quick questions. First, what's the importance of art, if any, in the things you're doing in the community? For us, using art as a tool, as a weapon, actually, has been really transforming. And then if you could please elaborate in the difference you see between charity and empowerment.
Thank you. I think the best places on earth that will find the art or the artist is places that are invisible. For them, it's organic. But what the issue is, the opportunity. So every day in my life in Kibera, I met these artists who are having these great paintings. We have musicians. But the challenge is that they can't go to the next step. But art, I've seen art being used as a way of organizing. One of my friends called Boniface Mwangi, It's amazing in doing that. So I connect art to the communities that are invisible. And and they have shown a lot of talent. So in SHOFCO, we have youth groups. We have, if you come to our building, you'll see some of the best artists. So we work with them. And the way I started my organizing work, apart from soccer, I used to do something called ambush theater. So I'll come to people who are just relaxing and we're going to scare them. And then we start performing on issues affecting the community. So that's why I'm a fan of art and artists. Yeah, so I agree with you. So it's very, very important in my community. But what they are lacking is, there are so many of them, but they are lacking a system on how they can be empowered. Yes?
Hi, Kennedy. I'm from Malaysia, and I did my medical school in Bangladesh. And I'm working with a youth-based organization. It's very similar, because when I saw your photographs, we are also working in a railway slum, and we have a school, and we have tried to provide drinking water and also health projects in these areas. I just wanted to ask, in terms of capacity building, from your experience, what capacity building programs have seen the best success, or was the best kind of program for your particular community, if any?
Thank you so much. Yeah. So what I've seen as we do our model, you can see there, but the thing I've really I'll say that when your work, when you're able to share with when the community are able to own, who doesn't be the success? How do you make your community to own an idea? To make it that they own it. For example, we have education for women. I'll be honest with you, Kibera, when I said that school, people are mad at me. Men, you can't have a school for women, for men here, Kennedy, for women. So, and then I have to be smart. We have to be smart. So what I did is that, okay, we're going to have a school for women, but it's going to provide services for men. Is that okay with you? They're like, done. You see, so you find a soft spot. We're going to empower women, but we're not going to let men aside. So for our school to be built, honestly, although they call it the mayor, it was tough. Men has to get something. So I said, okay, you're going to have shower that I got in America in the school compound. We're going to have clean water, and we're going to have a school, Kibera School for Girls, which is one of the best schools now. Our students really did well in the exams, on the newspaper. So I think the message is that how do you get to the heart of the communities? By making them own it. Yeah. Yes. Another question.
Good morning. My name is Victor.
Where's Victor? Oh, yes. Okay.
My name is Victor. I'm from Nigeria. I've worked in healthcare programs for quite a while. And I like your model. I can see you're addressing education, health, water, sanitation. I mean, that's a whole lot of thematic areas to work in. And you've worked for close to 12 years. One thing I've realized over time is that all of the work done in Africa, you have reports coming out from Africa, but mostly by foreigners. So if you're searching for information about Africa and work on stuff like this, it's reported by foreigners. Have you made effort over these years to, do research and tell your story in terms of data and, the progressive or marginal improvements you've been able to achieve over time, in publications around the world, such that you become a case study for other countries that are trying to address these same issues?
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so in terms of the data, so what we are doing at SHOFCO, so everybody has a card with their information, where they come from, if you come to use at the clinic or any services we are using, so we can be able to trace them and know how many people we serve. How many times did you use the library? So we can, but I think now we're in the next stage of how to publish it. We're not done that yet, but it took like over 10 years, to build, work on it. And I'm looking for universities, I'm looking for people like you who can really help me now. How do we use this African model to the world? So it's a gap that I have on that. So we are working on that. There's one last lady, then we go. Yeah.
Last question.
Yes.
Thank you, Kennedy. I enjoyed your presentation. So my name is Grace. I'm from Nigeria.
and we run a similar model to yours. We work with out-of-school youth, and we provide education services. I'm just curious, how do you leverage technology to do the work that you do? Do you introduce it to kids at that level, and to what extent? What tools do you use, and what can we learn from that?
Okay, thank you so much. So what we're using is, we teach our students coding. That's very important. We use I talk about the cards that everybody in the community who is using our services have this card that we can scan, so to understand the impact of work, people that we are serving. So I really believe in technology as a way to fight poverty. So we try to use them. So thank you so much for that. So as I'm done now, I want to say one thing, then thank you so much. As we leave the room, think of your privilege. If you're in this room today, you are privileged. And just think of my story of this young boy with a soccer ball to transform the society. And ask yourself again, like, no proposal, nothing. Look at your life, how much power you have. And what are you doing on it? Without complaining about money. But are you starting it? And what is your dream? And I hope my story is not special, but my story was just to share with you how we all have a story that resonates to each other. So thank you so much.